When the noise of the day feels especially heavy, it can be hard to find a quiet moment. This is 10 Better Minutes, a space for real stories that offer a steadier view of the world. Here, you will hear recent accounts that bring balance, not by ignoring trouble, but by showing what is often overlooked. Today's stories quietly remind us there is more going on than just the sharpest headlines. We will begin with the story of a retired firefighter who turned his own difficult journey into something that helps others in similar struggles. You know that feeling when you are clocked in, doing everything right, and still something inside you keeps slipping out of your control? Retired Stockton firefighter Douglas Satterfield says that is what it was like for him. Long hours, heavy stress, and the kind of quiet toughness people expect from first responders, until in 2021 he had a mental breakdown and later learned he was living with post-traumatic stress disorder. What he needed, more than anything, was a place where he could breathe without performing strength. He found that help through the West Coast Post-Trauma Retreat, a volunteer-led retreat that includes clinicians and focuses on coping tools you can actually use when the day gets loud again. He credits the retreat with helping him shift from surviving to understanding. After that, he wanted to give back in a way that felt joyful and real. He bought an old mail truck from Facebook Marketplace, then built a new ice cream truck, and he uses it to support those same retreats. He donates tips and a portion of proceeds to help pay for first responders and their spouses to attend. Douglas and his wife Lori have 3 children, Caitlin, Ryan, and Reed, and he says their communication has improved, including something he calls porch therapy. For now, the family is waiting on a county permit so they can begin private events and community outreach. It is a simple plan, really. Keep showing up, keep letting people know they are not alone. When the day arrives to leave childcare, the transition can feel like stepping off a moving train, especially if no one has planned your next stop. Today, we are looking at a project in India that helps care leavers build that next stop together. In many places, teens in childcare institutions become care leavers at around 18, often with little aftercare support, even though guidance on continued help exists until age 21 in some situations and even later in others. Girish Mehta and Anisha Sharma decided that this should not mean being treated as nobody's responsibility. With support from UNICEF, they launched Care Leavers Inner Circle, a tech-enabled platform led by care leavers for care leavers. CLiC began by building a care leaver database in Rajasthan, then created a way for young people to register and track what they need. New members receive a care kit with a smartphone, hygiene essentials, and clothes. The platform also connects people to documents, counseling access, transition workshops for ages 16 through 18, and practical support for finding training and jobs. What stands out is the community layer. CLiC has grown to more than 3,200 members, with 14 staff and dozens of volunteers across 4 Indian states. By supporting more than 600 members to secure documents, and with 320 of 410 gaining professional skills through the network and jobs, members are reporting a feeling of less loneliness as adulthood begins. It is a hopeful reminder that independence starts easier when you are not doing it alone. The small moments of kindness we notice in everyday life can sometimes grow into something surprisingly lasting. Here is a story about a rescued crow and the friendship that followed. It started when Leah Wilson learned a crow was trapped in a home's rain gutter. Around the neighborhood, crows were circling and making their presence known, alerting people that something was wrong. Leah looked for help and spotted a fire truck a few blocks away. Even before the situation could feel hopeless, she asked the firefighters to assist, and they brought out a raised ladder to free the bird. Leah then drove the crow to a wildlife rehabilitation center. While she waited, she stayed on the phone with Wildlife Emergency, and the crow clung to her finger, grounding the whole effort in quiet, steady care. A few days later, she learned the crow had recovered and been released back into the wild. After that, something changed in the ordinary rhythm of her days. During her daily dog walks, Leah began receiving offerings from crows. Sometimes it was a bundle of feathers, sometimes sticks or balls of moss, and even a small bird's nest set carefully near her feet. She noticed that one crow in particular wore a metal band on its leg, a way of saying, in its own language, that it remembered. In the end, this story leaves me with a hopeful thought. When we help what is in front of us, connection has a way of coming back, gentle and real. Have you ever walked past something you did not recognize and assumed it was damage when it was actually information? That is the quiet starting point for this story about sea turtles, curiosity, and the way communities can help science take shape. In 2017, concerned people launched the Honu Count, a simple educational initiative that invites anyone to report turtle sightings. The reason matters. Long before the count began, no AA had used careful shell etchings for decades to understand where Hawaiian green sea turtles feed and how they move. But the public sometimes mistook the markings for graffiti. So the Honu Count turned attention into better data. A wildlife biologist explained how the process stays gentle. Researchers use light Dremel work to etch a code and a number on the turtle shell, then add non-toxic white paint. The goal is not to harm, but to label each animal respectfully so sightings can be connected to location and behavior. One researcher, Brittany Clemens, spent 6 months tracking turtles at breeding grounds in the northwestern Hawaiian Islands. Then, a new research paper brought community-submitted Honu Count reports into the mix to identify critical foraging habitats and the density of frequented areas. What is uplifting is that public submissions do not just feel like participation. They become part of a real data set that helps inform protected habitat boundaries. And if you want to join, the Honu Count sighting survey on the NoAA website keeps the door open, one calm report at a time. When rights feel under pressure, it can be hard to know where your effort even fits. This story is a reminder that community support is not just comforting, it is practical, and it works. At a time when transgender and non-binary people are dealing with bans and attacks on their daily lives, the article points out how quickly lawmakers can move. In 2026 alone, more than 500 bills were introduced across 37 states meant to block trans rights, according to the American Civil Liberties Union. With that kind of momentum aimed against people, the fight can feel overwhelming, like the whole country is sliding in the wrong direction. But the heart of the piece is a different focus. Even when the news is heavy, allies can take steady actions that change what happens next. The article suggests starting with small human support, like sharing good news and checking in with joy. It even offers a gentle question to ask a trans friend. What is bringing you joy right now? It also recommends being present for practical needs, from offering to go with someone to passport appointments, doctor visits, or the office of the Secretary of State. And then there is the longer arc of advocacy. Logan Casey of the Movement Advancement Project is quoted saying advocates have helped defeat about 90% of anti-LGBTQ bills introduced over the last 15 years. That does not mean the work is finished. It does mean your community is not powerless. Hope grows when support turns into action and when local kindness adds up to national outcomes. As always, I have a fresh little tip lined up for your mental reset, the kind that helps you feel more steady and more present in your own life. Today, we are talking about separating meaningful information from algorithm junk and choosing what actually deserves your attention. Here's the simple move. When something pops up on your screen, pause before you swallow it whole. Ask yourself 2 questions. First, does this help me understand my real life, or does it just keep me entertained for a moment? Second, would I still care about this if nobody was feeding it to me? If the answer is no, you are not failing. You're just noticing how the system works. Then try a tiny filter. Look for signals that feel grounding, advice you can use today, perspectives that challenge you gently, or details that connect to something you value. Everything else can be saved for later or skipped entirely with no guilt. You are allowed to curate your attention like it is a home. Clear the clutter, keep the good, and let your mind return to what matters, one intentional choice at a time. We made it to the end of this episode, and I really appreciate you hanging out with me for these 10 better minutes. If today felt heavy, I hope you can carry something steadier out of this, the quiet proof that people keep showing up for one another in practical ways, with kindness that does not need attention to matter. The world is not only noise, and it is not only trouble, it is also decency, patience, and small choices that help someone else get through their day. This is Ian Rhodes with 10 Better Minutes. Take care, and I will see you tomorrow.